Okay, so look, let's bring it back to the double standards thing. Okay, so fine, you're going to argue that, well, height, that's within the realms of physicality, that's different.
Can I say something?
What about women who want men who are funny, but they are not funny themselves?
I'm hilarious.
Again, that's not a moral standard or a moral value that you would look for in somebody else.
Your promiscuity, your degree of promiscuity is behavioral traits in the same way that being funny or humorous is a behavioral or personality trait.
So then you could say that the promiscuity from the man side is also the same.
And the promiscuity reflects
women are
values.
totally within their right to not want to partner with a man who is promiscuous or who has a promiscuous past.
Yeah, and I think it does reflect on values, which play a big part in relationships. If you don't share similar values with the person that you're trying to be with, it just doesn't really work out in the end. So if somebody disagrees with promiscuity, then they disagree with promiscuity.
But the reason why it's different for a couple of reasons. Number one, when you look back at biology and evolutionary psychology, the man's whole goal is to spread his seed as far and wide as possible. You look at a woman, she can literally only carry one baby at a time, right? From one man, at least, right? Unless it's twins, triplets, but from one man for a period of 9 months. It's literally completely different from a biological level. Number one, it's very different. And then number two, when you look at the emotional impact, men are very oftentimes able to separate emotions and sex. Can we not all agree that women are a little bit more emotionally invested in their sexual encounters than men are? Therefore, a woman who has slept with 100 people is going to affect her mentally, spiritually, emotionally, far more than it ever would a man.
That's also just making assumptions.
I feel like that's
you can call it a generalization, but on the balance of probability, meaning at least 51% of the time it's true. And when you need to make good decisions about your life, you look at things like the balance of probabilities, statistics, right? This is an emotionally mature thing to do. So it's not unreasonable for men to be able to do that. And also pair bonding is another very important topic that I saw somebody bring up, that for women after 10 bodies, there are statistics that show it is actually very difficult for her to devote herself to one man ongoingly. For a long period of time.
Yes. No, I'd say that it permanently...
I don't think that's
That is not true.
No. I'd say that it permanently alters the way that you perceive relationships, and going into relationships, it just permanently alters things.
So you don't think that it affects men in the same way, and it doesn't alter their perception of a relationship?
It does apparently, but after many more bodies.
Really have emotional
but so you're literally sitting here and acting, oh, men should spread their seed, men should spread their seed. Do men not have self-control?
I don't think she's
But there's a biological...
about the biological inclination.
Yes. Oh, biological this, biological that. I don't care.
So you're saying that women can't biologically also want to have casual sex with men?
Biologically,
now
back
honestly,
then women were having babies at
I think
15,
biologically we're not supposed to be monogamous.
We're way behind that.
I think
we're way behind that.
I think she's I think she's communicating her points in the most primitive sense. Primitively
but we're not
speaking.
primitive beings anymore.
That was one example. I gave 2 other examples as well. One of them was based in biology and evolutionary psychology. I gave 2 more that are actually very relevant to current times. I was trying to be
I don't know. I've got more than 10 bodies, and I don't have an issue being monogamous or having a partner at all. And I don't know any other woman that has that many bodies that has an issue being with a partner in a monogamous way.
Well, there are studies about it. You can read about them. If it doesn't apply to you, then that's wonderful. But there is empirical data that suggests that the opposite is actually true. If that doesn't affect you, then that's wonderful. And I do believe that there is kind of like a biological adaptation that's occurring right now, because women have been much more promiscuous. Just like biological adaptations happen over time. So it could be true that that is starting to happen. But I would say,
so if there is a biological adaptation, then shouldn't men adjust what they're looking for, and shouldn't purity not be as adamant because now there is a biological adaptation from your?
I'm not saying I didn't say there definitely is. I say that there likely will be if we continue down this road of being very, very promiscuous. Then likely that will happen, because that's just what happens with biology. We make adaptations to the world around us, right? Is that necessarily a good or a bad thing? I mean, I
got it. Men should change what they're saying. I mean, what they think. Men should not want purity culture if women are allowed to be more promiscuous because of biological adaptation.
Thank you.
What about women change what they're doing rather than men what they're saying?
Why do women have to change what they're doing?
Can you let me finish my sentence? I think women can change what they're doing, and also men could change what they're doing. It's like, it goes both ways.
Essie, go ahead. What were you gonna?
Since we're speaking off of personal experiences, I was just gonna say that, for my entire life, I thought that because I had.
Cut off.
Alvin Sam donated $100.
Yeah, thank you, Alvin.
According to the Institute for Family Studies, promiscuity before marriage reduced marital quality for women but not for men. Men and women are different. Women do not want male virgins because she values his experience.
I was actually going
Double
to say that.
standards.
Based. There's all kinds of double standards.
Yeah.
Some benefit men, some benefit women.
I would like a guy who's experienced in bed, though, personally. So I can kind of see that.
Go ahead with your point.
Oh, I was just going to say, for my entire life, I thought my feeling of the level of emotion that I felt with my sexual partners, I always thought that people had always told me you should be more prone to having casual sex and hookups. Like, you shouldn't be so emotionally in-depth and connected to your sexual partner, until I realized that that's totally a normal thing, and that actually it's the opposite, that you probably, if you're not really feeling an emotional connection with your partner, then there's probably something wrong at that point, sexually.
Word?
I mean, I don't think that, I think it should be up to women whether or not they choose to have casual sex, right? I mean, you can definitely feel that way. You can have emotional connections to your partners and choose not to have casual sex. That's absolutely fine.
Well, while it's up to women, it is also up to the men to judge them, or anyone else for that fact to judge them. When you make a decision, expect to be judged. And if that decision is sleeping with 16 people...
That's nobody's business, though. That's
But
that's nobody's business. That's between you and your current partner.
And everyone else you sleep with.
There is literally
And
one
everyone else you
marker
sleep
that
with.
determines whether casual sex doesn't affect you, and it's being a male. And there are studies to point this out. You guys don't have to believe me. You can just look up the studies after. It's okay.
I just think
define
if they
casual
exist, they're
sex.
there. Yeah. I also just think if you're expecting something in your partner, that you should also emulate that as well. And I think that it's kind of ignorant to assume otherwise.
No,
But you don't think that there's asymmetry in what men and women find attractive in the opposite sex? Like, for example, you'll hear a lot of women say, I really like funny guys, but like, they're not funny.
Oh my gosh. You men always think women aren't funny. Like, that is like a problem.
That's not what I said. I'm just saying, like, a woman who herself, let's just give me the benefit of the doubt here. Let's take a woman who's not funny, and would it be wrong of her to want a guy who's funny just because she's not funny?
think
What about a woman who's looking for a tall man
different.
who's short herself?
Well, she rejected that argument because it's about
a physical
physicality.
thing. That's
Can I
completely
say
different.
It's funny that you bring that up, because actually, like, evolutionary, like, again, talking about this stupid fucking book, women are, like, the asymmetry in looking for a partner, we're actually genetically supposed to look for someone opposite to our genetics, for, like, to look for somebody tall, somebody strong, somebody funny, somebody that's opposite of us, for, like, the best, like, outcome for offspring. That's why, like, women, was a study of women who are on birth control. We actually find partners that are, like, too similar to us, and when we're off of birth control, we're more attracted to, like, partners that are the opposite.
It's not usually that they're similar, but usually women are more agreeable, and when you're on birth control, you're attracted to people who are more agreeable. If you're a disagreeable female on birth control, then maybe you wouldn't find that likely.
Right.
But then again, on birth control, you'd probably be agreeable.
But I just reject this idea that in order for you to rightfully either be attracted to somebody or want to be with somebody, you two must possess all the characteristics that they possess. So, like, okay, a woman who finds a rich man attractive, is it wrong that she finds a man attractive because of his wealth, even if she herself is not wealthy? Or what about a woman who finds a professional athlete or an actor or musician attractive because of his status, but she has absolutely no status? She's not a pro athlete, she's not an actor, she's not a musician.
Usually
like, this
people
idea
tend
that this idea that there needs to be perfect reciprocity, a word that we used previously in the conversation, or perfect symmetry in our, where we fall in the world, I think it doesn't make sense.
I think people usually tend to date within their dating pool. Like, you're not, like, a pro athlete isn't really gonna, like, go for me,
Actually, I would say, like, pro athletes be dating some normal fucking.
I mean, I would tend to
chicks,
disagree.
like-
I mean, like, I'm autistic. I have, like, literally. Look.
Really?
Yeah.
I never would have guessed.
Yeah. No, but I'm, like, completely weird as fuck.
Can you
Like,
just
not
scoop
to
the
be
mic
like,
that way?
quirky or anything, but like, I'm a fucking loser. Like, I like video games. I'm cooped up. Like, I just like to play video games. I'm cooped up in my room all the time, and then I ended up scoring some guy who's an absolute Chad. Like, he's like, I don't know. He's like completely fucking normal, and I think I'm kind of like retarded. Like, I could say it. You said we could say it if we had the past. I mean, I ended up dating someone who, like, essentially, like, we have nothing to do with each other, and it's working out pretty fine. I mean, we have a lot in common.
Argument. What is your argument?
No, I'm just saying. I don't know. I just.
So you're saying, like, because you're, like, R-slurred, that you should only date other R-slurred people?
No. It's not like that. I'm saying,
so
like,
nice of you.
like, people, like, don't always date within their pool. Like, this guy's, like, awesome. Like, he's, like, completely normal.
Oh my
like,
God.
he,
Go ahead.
like,
I was just gonna say that. I mean, honestly, like, it's totally fine if your standards are like not similar to what you provide. For me, I just can't stand people who are like, I want this, this, and this from a partner, but they bring nothing to the table. I just don't think that it makes any sense. I feel like you want the relationship to be fair in what you can provide for each other. So I think it makes sense to, like, if you're going to require all these things from your partner, you should probably have some other things that you're yourself offering.
Okay, so this look, this whole thing stemmed from, we were initially talking about age gap. That stemmed from the age gap thing.
We didn't finish.
I don't know
order on
how
the
we.
table.